ideas on a budget. Our garden is mostly harvested and we are still processing food, but for the most part, the garden work is done, which means I have some time finally to organize the kitchen and the pantries. This is my pantry behind me here, and I have got to completely gut all of it today and start organizing it and getting it ready for the winter, as well as all of the harvest foods that I'm going to be processing over the next week. I also would like to answer a subscriber question today. So I was asked by a subscriber the question, should Christians prep or should Christians be preppers? And whereas I don't have the definitive answer on this and absolutes, we do have the Bible, and there are a few Bible verses that we have that we may be able to learn from when it comes to answering that question. I also have some life experience regarding that topic. While I got this pantry, let's discuss whether or not Christians should prep. Let's talk about some budget pantry organization.
We'll go over the pantry organization ideas on a budget first, because that's probably what most of you are here for. First, I'll explain what I'm doing here. I am taking these curtains down. Ideally, we would like to have doors here, like barn rolling doors, but that's a long ways down the road. So to get us by until that can happen, I've got these curtains up, and they need to be washed quite regularly. My first pantry organization idea tip is to start investing in jars and saving jars. My favorite are, of course, canning jars, like the mason jars. If you want a streamlined look, those are going to be probably your most budget-friendly buy. I've seen them for as low as $12 for $8. If you can't afford that, I would hit your local Facebook groups. I found loots that way. If you want more decorative jars, thrift stores are going to be your go-to hotspot. But another option is to save the jars that your foods that you purchase from the store come in, like pickle jars and spaghetti sauce jars.
Pickle jars are thicker than a lot of the gallon jars you would buy anywhere these days.
Personally, my jar collection is a combination of thrifted, purchased canning jars and jars that I found secondhand, along with jars that I've saved up from the store that had goods in them already. I like it this way because it gives me a good combination of sizes.
Some of my favorite organizational items for pantries are these clear bins. You can get them pretty much everywhere now. You can get them on Amazon, Walmart, dollar stores. You can find them everywhere. I really like having these for things that are ugly though, that I don't want to be like looking at, or small things. I found these at the dollar store. So you could probably, wherever you are, Dollar General, Dollar Tree, wherever. These are kind of flimsy, but you can get a whole bunch of these for super cheap, and then you can get a more cohesive look to your pantry if that's important to you. I've had these bins from the dollar store for, I want to say maybe 5-6 years, and they're still lasting. So the only things that I needed to buy to organize the pantry were turntables. I found these turntables. They're the Home Edit. I found them on sale. I think they were almost half off at our local Walmart. And these huge ones I got off of Amazon. They too were on sale because I think I got them during Prime Day. These turntables are one of my very favorite organizational items for anywhere. They buy space. It would seem like they would take up more space, but I don't find that to be the case. There were a lot of empty jars in here, but by using all of these, it seems like I can fit way more into a small area and then have a little bit of space around it.
Before you go shopping anywhere for organizational items, be sure to hit your thrift stores. I have found clear bins, turntables, baskets, all kinds of things for organization there. Oh, don't forget about baskets. Baskets can make a super pretty way to organize your pantry. All right, now I'd like to delve into the actual organization process. I learned how to organize a pantry from my aunt, who was a professional organizer.
My aunt has worked as a professional organizer, and she taught me that when you take everything off the shelves, if you put them all into specific groups, you can see how large the size group is, and then you'll have a better idea of how much space or where to put it in your pantry.
Did as I grouped things. So right in this area, we have all of the spices. Over on the other side over there, I have all the pastas, and I put things all together in groups.
Got like 3 or 4 kids that are just goofing off. I think I'm going to see if they want to help me out emptying this. So the advantage to having your kids know where everything is it helps them be more independent. Really a good idea to have any family members that do any cooking or helping with meal preparations to be involved in this process so that everybody knows what there is, what needs to be used up soon. Also, I am releasing a new Homestead Women's Planner, and in it, it has a menu plan with a space in it specifically for foods that are about to expire. So that might be something you might want to look at after you're done watching this. All right, guys, so what I want to do here is let's take all the pasta and we're going to put it right over there where I have those other jars of pasta. Put all the pasta in the same place. We put all of the nuts in the same place. Let's put all of the things. Olives should go in the same place. Yes. Oh, you want to catch it? Okay, catch. Are you serious? You sure you want to try it?
I do.
We'll do a quick final tour at the end of this video, but right now, let's answer the questions, should Christians prep? I have a few thoughts on this topic, but let's start out with story time. When I was a small child, my mom met my stepdad. They were absolutely sure that there was a collapse coming. They sold out and moved to a remote mountaintop. I remember at first being very unhappy to leave my aunts and my grandparents, but I have to admit, once we got settled into that mountaintop home, I was instantly sold. During that time, they made some permanent and rather drastic life changes, of which they both later regretted. They made the changes because they were absolutely sure that we were living in end times. They got all set up, living off grid, but the world didn't end. And time moved on. Unfortunately, in their hurry to get established in the wilderness, important and appropriate paperwork apparently wasn't filed. The people that they bought the property from took the property back along with my stepdad's life savings, which he had put into that property. I was 7 when we had to move, and it was a very traumatic experience. I was not happy to leave my mountain. We continued to hang out with, and I was raised around what many people would probably call kind of a bit of out there religious circle. Almost everybody we knew was a survivalist in some way, shape, or form, and a prepper. Now, again, this was a long time ago. It was back in the 80s and 90s. By the time I was a young adult, I had heard that the world was ending so many times and seen that every time somebody predicted something was going to happen that was going to cause a system to collapse, it never happened. Eventually, I became quite irritated. I realized most of the people I knew didn't know Christ, and many of them, their main religion was conspiracies and legalism. In the Bible, we do have some examples of preppers: Noah, Joseph, and Moses, but in all of the cases where they were called to prep, that's the key word. They were called. God clearly called them to prep. I have met people in times long past, like 20 years ago, who I really think had more money than good sense, because they would buy huge stockpiles and store it away, only for it to all go to waste, because what they were expecting to happen based off of some conspiracy they heard never did. I never thought I would see times where people in huge numbers like we have now would be rushing towards prepping, rushing towards things like homesteading. And although I don't think that this is necessarily a bad thing, I don't think it's necessarily a good thing when it's done out of a place of fear, because we are not supposed to fear. And what really bothers me is I see a lot of entities out there that are essentially businesses fear-mongering in order to profit. Look up Bible verses about being deceived. Being deceived is something we are supposed to be on guard of. So I think essentially this topic is one that should be approached with caution and prayer. Let's dive into some Bible verses here. In Isaiah 8:12, it reads, "Do not call conspiracy everything this people calls a conspiracy. Do not fear what they fear, and do not dread it." And even more interestingly, it goes on to say in verse 13, "The Lord Almighty is the one you are to regard as holy. He is the one you are to fear. He is the one you are to dread." In Matthew 24:36, it reads, speaking of the end times, that nobody knows the day and the hour, not even the angels of heaven. The only one that knows when the end is coming is God. And in 2 Peter 3:10-12, it says, "But the day of the Lord will come like a thief. The heavens will disappear with a roar, and the elements will be destroyed by fire, and the earth and everything done in it will be laid bare. Since everything will be destroyed in this way, what kind of people ought you to be? You ought to live holy and godly lives, as you look forward to the day of God and speed its coming. That day will bring about the destruction of the heavens by fire, and the elements will melt in the heat. Continuously through the scripture, we are told also not to fear. So many times throughout scripture. A couple of them are Isaiah 41:10. Fear not, for I am with you. Do not be dismayed, for I am your God. I will strengthen you. I will help you. I will uphold you with my righteous hand. 2 Timothy 1:7. For God gave us a spirit not of fear, but of power and love and self-control. There are so many more I could quote. I think the main focus as Christians is that yes, we should prep. We need to prep our hearts and our minds. I don't believe we're supposed to pay attention to conspiracies and get caught up into all of that. When it comes to preparing food and supplies, I do think we should have wisdom. I think the pandemic was a really good example of how we should have at least a little something stored away in case of a national disaster. It's also a good idea to have something stored away in case of job loss or local disasters. But what we do shouldn't be done in fear. In fact, Matthew 6:25 reads, Therefore I tell you, do not worry about your life, what you will eat or drink, or about your body, what you will wear. Is not life more than food, and body more than clothes? In verse 26 it continues, Look at the birds of the air. They do not sow or reap, nor store away in barns, and yet the heavenly Father feeds them. Are you not much more valuable than they? Verse 27, Can any one of you, by worrying, add a single hour to your life? With that said, it never does hurt to stock for a rainy day unless you're stocking more than you can actually eat in a lifetime. If you are looking for a good place to stock for a rainy day, may I suggest Azure Standard, the sponsor for today's video. If you've never heard of Azure Standard before, where have you been? Oh my goodness. Azure Standard is a bulk, healthy and organic goods, foods, and products family-owned company. They specialize in quality bulk and natural foods. You can buy bulk or you can buy small quantities from them. A lot of people don't realize they can get small quantities of things from Azure Standard too. If you are looking for high quality, organic, non-GMO foods, Azure Standard is where you want to look. I will link to them in the description below. I have some exciting news. Azure is offering new customers that are my viewers 15% off their first order of $100 or more of products. I will put the promo code in the description box below for you. This is valid through December 31st, 2025.
There are so many world events happening right now that are just devastating. And I know that we hear everything with the news and social media. It's not like, 30 years ago where things could be going on, but you didn't know about it, right? We know about things now. We know about what's happening, but not only that, seems like more really is happening. When world events are going on that I know that I can't do anything about, something that helps me, or even when it's personal things that are happening that I can't do anything about. I actually learned this from an older woman years ago who used to call me and just kind of mentor me. And she taught me something that I already knew, but she put it into words to whereas when she said it, it was like, okay, now I know it's not just me. This is a real thing. So whenever there's just so many things going on that you can't do anything about, always, if you can do something about it, then yes, definitely do. But if it's things you just can't do anything about other than pray, something that helps is to put your hands busy, get your hands busy, whether it's just washing the floor, organizing, just get your hands busy. Getting my hands busy helps me when I know that I've done everything I can in a situation and that there's nothing more that I can do.
We were made for each other to hold on to. I was carved out of redwood beneath your moon. I was birthed in the mountains under the sun.
Something special I did is I put the soups for my husband. Normally he has leftovers, but every now and then we don't have one and he needs something for his lunch in a hurry. So I put items for him right at his eye level. I don't know about your man, but if mine has to hunt for his food for lunch
anywhere, in the refrigerator or in the pantry, he'll just skip it and go hungry. And definitely don't want that, so I try to make it really easy for him to find what he needs and is looking for. So on a lot of these, I have like items, like this is all of my Thai food ingredients here. And over here we have syrups. Here I have some random things. I'm not really happy with everything I have on this one, but it's basically spices. It looks like one of the kids put some nuts here. So those go down here. Everything else on here is for cooking. It's spices for cooking. Dried fruits here. Lots of spices and seeds and nuts here. All of my flours and baking items. Rice, brown sugar, soup making supplies down there. These are all the canned goods. My son has some not life-threatening food allergies, but food allergies that just kind of upset his digestive system. So this right here is his area where all of his quick go-to foods are. And then up here we have just random pickled items. Pastas down here, chips on the bottom, and then all my bulk 5-gallon buckets on the bottom and some of my gallon vinegars. We have juices up on the top there and oils here. Down here I have spaghetti again in one of those clear bins I found somewhere, probably secondhand. It feels good to have this done.
Can see